Hi, this is Larry from Rock Creek. Today I'm rebuilding Shovelhead rocker arms. This is what wears out on them. The rocker pad here, as you can see, you get a wear mark here and a little lip there. And then the bushings, they seem to rotate right here on the shaft and they get egg-shaped. And the rocker arm shaft seems to wear right here. The shaft does not move. It stays in one spot, but the arm goes like this all day long for thousands and thousands of miles. And it'll wear the shaft out here. You can see the mark from here to here. And the bushing, the same thing. Just wears out from here to here, from going like this. So we're going to replace the bushings today and then hone them to size. I want to have a 1 thou clearance, and I usually replace these, but if you're really good on a lathe, you can machine this and this. But they both have to be exactly the same size, perfectly machined, because it's going to be line honed from there. And you can also use a reamer. The Harley manual tells you to use a reamer for them, but a Sun and Hone does a better job. And if you don't have a reamer or a Sun and Hone, you can just go to any automotive machine shop and they have a Sun and Hone and they could do this for you. Okay, I'm going to show you how I remove the bushings. You can't drive it right through because there's a shoulder in here. But after you take the first bushing out, you can drive the second one right out. So I'm going to show you how I do them. You have to just remove one bushing first. So I take a 5/8 National Course tap and I tap it into the bushing on one end, like so. I'll use cutting oil on the tap as well. Just makes it a little easier. There's probably other ways to do this, but this is how I do it. Then I remove this. So I take this pipe spacer, put it on there with a washer, thread this in there. Like so. No, shut it off. So you turn this nut and it will pull the bushing into that tube there. It'll pull the bushing right out of the rocker arm. Just a homemade puller. See, there's the bushing. This is just a homemade driver. I'll use this to knock the other bushing out. You can knock it right through like this. Just like that. You have to make sure that this oil hole lines up with this one. The oil hole on the bushing will line up to that hole there. So I usually just start them and then I use a press to push them in there so they're right flush. Going in there nicely. There. Okay, so this bushing, after you press it in, it's right flush with here. And then you take a piece of wire, make sure your oil hole lines up, see? Bushing in. Okay, so this bushing, it has an oil hole in it, and I just have the oil hole facing to the very top. It doesn't line up with nothing, but that's just how I put them in there. Okay, I usually replace the rocker arm shaft. There's a couple of different manufacturers that make reproduction ones, and I'll replace the shaft, and then I'll size these bushings on my Sun and Hone so they're exactly 1/1000th of an inch clearance. That seems to be the magic number for these. And then I'll show you how I resurface the rocker arm pad. Okay, this rocker arm pad, it's all gouged out from the valve hitting it for thousands and thousands of miles. So I got the new bushings in here, and they're sized, and so I have to resurface this. This is like case hardened, and I've, from what I understand, the case hardening goes down about 50 thou deep, so you're only going to be taking a little bit off of here. It's not going to hurt nothing. So I'll show you how I do these. So it only took just a little skiff off of there, maybe a couple thou, and it'll probably go for another 50, 60,000 miles or more. And that's how I redo the rocker arms. And this jig here, this is a Troc made by Troc Cycle. And I used to have a homemade one that did just as good a job, and I gave it away to somebody after I bought this one. And they're both about the same finished product. Okay, that's how I do the rocker arms.